Hello, viewers. If you have been following my show, you might have seen that I'm trying to cover a lot of different topics which will be relatable to the broader audience. And today I'm going to speak or share my knowledge about some very interesting topic, deglobalization. This is directly related to the current affairs in the world, and everything boils down to the pandemic that has risen the deglobalization. Before going into the details of the topic, I want to tell you that I am not an economist or I am not an expert in world economy, but because I work with a small company, I know how it has impacted the lot of small businesses, and that's why I started reading about the world economy and how the world economy is shattered because of the pandemic. So, I would like to go ahead and share a little bit of knowledge for you all so that you can have an overview or the idea of what world economy looks like and might look like in future post pandemic. So what exactly globalization is and why does deglobalization come into picture now? Globalization is a very old term or a process that had started like 6 decades ago, somewhere in 1400s. And it is the process by which the businesses or any other organizations or institutions develop international influence or start operating on an international scale. So this is more related to doing trades cross borders or across the countries. And exactly opposite of this is the deglobalization. So what deglobalization exactly means is it is diminishing of this interdependence of the countries for the economic growth. So till date, the entire world was interconnected, and this interconnectedness was directly related to the GDP of the country or the growth rate of the country or the economic growth of the country. And this has faced detrimental effects because of the recent pandemic. Now, why is that so? We all know that China is a factory for the entire world. If you see the map here, the coronavirus has hit the global supply chains that have sourced from China. Now, China was the source of the virus, and if you can see, China supplies to almost 75% of the world. The coronavirus has shuttered the factories, and this clearly means that there is a great reversal of west to east industrial journey. Now that the world has been dependent on China for more than 18 years now, and China can make every single thing that you use in your daily routine life, like from a smallest spoon in your kitchen to any parts that you're using, any hardware, software you're using in your daily lives at work or in your personal life. So the world was totally dependent, or I would put it like this, that the world had put all its eggs in one basket and was totally dependent on China. But now that China has been responsible for the virus and that has hit the travel, tourism, supply chains, and retail really bad, businesses are reassessing China's role in global supply chains. And by the time this virus burns, many of them have stated planning to relocate at least some of their production elsewhere and not in China. So, this is clearly the sign of accelerated deglobalization. If you know China is making everything. There was shortage of masks worldwide, in European countries, in America, because the face masks that were mandatory to be used during the pandemic were also produced in China. That's how much China owns the global independence. Sorry, China owns the independence of the countries. And now the supply chains from the China, the production, the manufacturing has totally come to a standstill in China, or it has decelerated, and therefore the deglobalization has increased in a substantial rate. You can see in the last 2 decades, China's significance in the global economy is spiked enormously. And you know what? You wouldn't believe China is responsible for 17% of global GDP these days, which was 4% in 2003. So you can imagine how much China has grown stronger economy wise by making other countries depend on their manufacturing and production. So any blow to the Chinese economy means a lot to the whole world. Actually, 1% point drop in Chinese growth would take 0.2% of profit point of global health. So you know how China's role as a factory to the world and the disruption to the global supply chains is going to be far-reaching. The looming crisis is two-pronged. For China, it is the sluggish demand from consumers at home, and for the world, it is a massive decline in global flows of goods, services, and investment. Here is a clear graph of how China has done an economic damage to the entire world, and the world is facing a global financial crisis. If you can see in 2020, there is a sharp drop in the economic growth of the country, which is really worrisome, not to China, but to the entire global world. So what were the reasons of deglobalization? No country was ready for a pandemic. Let's take it. Apart from that, because of the prices and the cost effectiveness of the production that would be performed in China, many large countries or financially strong countries had started taking that country as granted and had shifted all their productions, manufacturing in that country without thinking for once what would happen if this would disrupt the global supply chain. So clearly, because of our unpreparedness, there was a lack of effective global governance. So it took one, at the most, 2 months for the entire financial or economic chain of the globe to just shatter. There were no safeguards in place for risk control and management. We are not prepared to understand the importance of resilience and self-restorative capacity. No country is prepared for any kind of resilience. It's extremely sorry that for the first time since World War II, the global economy faces the possibility of a true decoupling of many trade connections. And we all knew that globalization started in 1492, but when China took hold of the world economy by making itself a factory of the world, China was the winner in globalization. And now clearly, China is the biggest loser in deglobalization. China's reputation for reliability is at stake, and momentum for supply chain diversification inside and outside the country is growing. So, considering all these problems or all these deglobalization factors, are there any solutions that can help us combat deglobalization? Yes, I think the financial crisis has set up a path or a direction for the countries to make their supply chains to be more localized. And what does that mean? When you have the supply chain localized, the manufacturing needs to be done more locally. Investment and financing again needs to be done wisely and more so within the country for encouraging local manufacturing and local supply chains. This clearly leads to encouraging entrepreneurship and local businesses. But at the end of the day, the question still remains: are the businesses ready for all this? So, with that, I would like you to go ahead and think about all that we are facing today, and please comment what you think about the deglobalization and tell me if it is going to help people like you and me, or it's just going to make our life difficult. Remember, the effect of the pandemic and the deglobalization is going to be short term, but we don't know how short that term is going to be. And unless we don't know how to overcome with these problems and come with strong solutions, deglobalization is going to keep hitting us and our economies real bad. So let me know what you think about this video, and please go ahead, like, share, and please subscribe to my channel for more such informative and useful videos. Please comment in the section below to let me know what you feel about the world economy, the deglobalization effects, and what are your thoughts on how to have solutions on your personal level for such a problem. Thank you very much, and I'm going to see you soon again with another segment.